Professor Alistair Finch, a man whose life had been dedicated to deciphering the faded scripts of forgotten empires, found himself in an entirely new kind of ancient ruin. Not a dusty, crumbling pyramid in the Gobi Desert, but a dazzlingly realistic, pixelated one in what was supposedly the most advanced VRMMORPG ever created, Aethelgard Online. His granddaughter, bless her well-meaning heart, had insisted. "Grandpa, you love history. This is like a living museum, but you can walk through it." She'd gifted him the neural interface in the game, hoping it would keep his mind sharp in his retirement. Alistair, a technophobe by nature, had indulged her, expecting a childish distraction. He'd been wrong. Aethelgard wasn't just realistic. It was staggeringly intricate. The ancient pyramid he now stood in, deep within the sands of Anu, felt real enough to touch. The hieroglyphs on the walls, though stylized, contained traces of actual ancient languages he recognized. While other players, avatars of muscle-bound warriors and spell-slinging mages, frantically chopped at low-level scarab beetles for XP and loot, Alistair was crouched, nose inches from a wall, meticulously tracing a faded inscription. "You have discovered an ancient Anu hieroglyph." Reading text, "May the sun god Ra guide the pharaoh's passage." Lore XP Pa 1. Total lore XP 1. Alistair blinked. Lore XP? He hadn't seen this on the character creation screen, which had focused heavily on strength, dexterity, and other combat-oriented stats. His own character sheet was a laughable display of pathetic numbers. Character, Alistair Finch class, unassigned. Level 1. Health 50-50. Mana 10-10. Stamina 20-20. Strength 2. Pitiful. Dexterity 3. Clumsy. Constitution 4. Frail. Intelligence 25 maxed out. Wisdom 25 maxed out. Perception 25 maxed out. Skills: Observation basic. Scribe basic. Lore XP 100. He wasn't here to fight. He was here to learn. The notion of a game with actual lore that could be leveled up filled him with an academic thrill he hadn't felt in years. This wasn't just a game. It was a gigantic, interactive database of a fabricated history begging to be deciphered. He ignored the shouts of nearby players, the thud of their weapons, the clinking of loot. He spent hours meticulously scouring the pyramid, translating every inscription, every faded mural. Each successful translation or observation added to his lore XP. Reading text, "The serpent god Apophis seeks to devour the light." Lore XP Polo 1. Total lore XP 15. He found a hidden sarcophagus adorned with symbols of a lesser-known goddess, Bastet. Its inscription, barely legible, detailed a minor historical event that wasn't covered in the game's official wiki, which his granddaughter had showed him. "You have discovered a minor historical anomaly." Lore XP plus 5. Total lore XP 20. The more lore XP he gained, the more his knowledge tab expanded. He unlocked a new passive skill, Lore XP Tier 1 unlocked. New passive skill, Ancient Script Recognition, Basic. Passive. Grants a minor boost to reading and understanding ancient languages. This was revolutionary. He could level up his intellect. Forget swords and spells. He had knowledge. His focus was broken by a frantic cry. "Help, we're being overrun!" A small party of players, including a hulking warrior and a nimble rogue, were being swarmed by larger, more aggressive Anubian Jackals, level 5. The Jackals were fast, their attacks dealing heavy damage. The players were clearly outmatched. Alistair, despite his abysmal combat stats, noticed something odd. A faint, almost invisible symbol on the collar of one of the Jackals, identical to a glyph he'd just translated, one that referenced a ritual of warding. Lore XP Insight. The Apophis warding glyph on the Anubian Jackals indicates they are controlled by a minor dark ritual, making them more aggressive. Dispelling the glyph might pacify them. He could see their weakness. But how to act on it? He had no combat spells, no weapons. Just knowledge! His new ancient script recognition skill pulsed. He remembered a common glyph for pacify or cleanse from his translations. He stepped forward, ignored by the Jackals who were busy tearing at the warrior's armor. He focused, extending his hand towards the nearest Jackal, attempting to draw the pacifying glyph in the air with his mana, attempting to cast pacifying glyph, improvised. Requires 5 mana, 10 lore XP. Mana 10, lore XP, 20, requirement met. Cast successful. A faint shimmering symbol appeared for a moment over the jackal, and it yelped, then stopped its attack, whimpering. The other jackals, sensing the disruption, hesitated. The players stared, dumbfounded. What did he do? The warrior stammered. Alistair just smiled. He had only just begun to understand the true power of this game, and the true power of knowledge. The pacified Anubian jackal whimpered at Alistair's feet, its aggressive glow fading. The other Anubian jackals, level 5, momentarily confused by the sudden change in their packmate, paused their assault on the stunned players. Did he just cast a spell? The rogue, a lithe elf named Lyra, asked, her bow still half drawn. Alistair, feeling a strange exhilaration, addressed the warrior. These creatures are not inherently aggressive. They are controlled by a dark ritual. The glyph on their collars is a warding symbol that amplifies their aggression. If you can replicate this counterglyph, he quickly drew a simple symbol in the sand with his finger, you may be able to pacify the others. The warrior, a massive axe-wielding orc named Grognak, stared at the symbol, then at Alistair. Me? Cast tiny glowy thing? Grognak smash, not draw! It requires focus, not brute force, Alistair explained patiently. Channel your intent, your desire for peace through the symbol. Grognak surprisingly tried. He grunted, his brow furrowed in concentration, tracing the symbol clumsily in the air. A faint flickering light appeared. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. The other jackals, already hesitating, twitched, then backed away, their aggression breaking. You have demonstrated the power of lore XP to another player. Lore XP plus 10. Total lore XP 30. The jackals, now confused and no longer aggressive, dispersed into the pyramid's shadows. The players looked at Alistair with a mixture of awe and disbelief. My thanks, Elder, Grognak rumbled, sheathing his axe. Grognak owes you. Never seen magic like that. Nor I, Lyra added, lowering her bow. My name is Lyra. That was incredibly resourceful. What class are you? Alistair, he introduced himself. And my class is currently unassigned. I am a historian, Lyra chuckled. A historian who pacifies monsters with glyphs? You're full of surprises, Alistair. She looked at her own quest log. We were on a quest to retrieve an amulet from a corrupted altar deeper in the pyramid. But these jackals, they're usually just mindless attackers. You knew their weakness immediately. Knowledge is a potent weapon, Alistair mused. Perhaps I could assist you with your quest. An ancient altar sounds fascinating. New quest, the corrupted altar. Description. A party of adventurers seeks to cleanse a corrupted altar within the sands of Anu Pyramid. Objective. Assist Grognak and Lyra in reaching and cleansing the corrupted altar. Reward. 50 XP, 20 lore XP, minor healing potion, X2. Alistair accepted the quest. This was perfect. More lore XP, and an opportunity to study another ancient site. As they ventured deeper, Alistair continued to meticulously examine every glyph, every piece of pottery, every faded mural. Each observation added more lore XP, and slowly his lore XP bar filled. Lore XP Tier 2 unlocked. New passive skill. Dead language translation, basic, passive. Grants a minor boost to translating written ancient languages. New active skill, glyph of warding, basic, active. Creates a simple protective glyph that deters low-level hostile creatures or wards against minor magical effects. Mana cost 10, lore XP cost 15. This was extraordinary. He was directly learning skills that leveraged his knowledge. The glyph of warding would be incredibly useful. He also saw a new tab on his character sheet, lore skills. They eventually reached the altar chamber. It was dark, dominated by a large stone altar pulsating with dark, corrupted energy. Surrounding it were ancient guardians, level 8, construct-like figures of stone animated by the corruption. Grognak charged. Grognak, smash ugly statues! Lyra unleashed a volley of arrows. But the guardians were tough, their stone bodies shrugging off hits. The corrupted energy radiating from the altar also caused a weakened debuff on the party. Alistair immediately focused on the altar. Its corruption wasn't random. It was a specific kind of ancient power, related to the Apophis glyphs. His dead language translation and ancient script recognition skills hummed. Lore XP, Insight. The corruption on the altar is not raw chaos, but a specific abyssal binding ritual. The guardian constructs are powered by the altar itself. Disrupting the ritual could disable them. Lore XP Insight. A counter-ritual glyph. The glyph of celestial harmony is subtly hidden within the altar's design, obscured by corruption. Stop! Alistair called out, his voice surprisingly firm. You cannot destroy them directly. The altar empowers them. There is a counterglyph on the altar itself. I can see it. We must activate it. He moved towards the altar, ignoring the Guardian's slow, ponderous attacks. He knew they were merely puppets. He focused intently, his gaze tracing the faint, pure lines beneath the black corruption. He began to draw the glyph of celestial harmony in the air, attempting to cast Glyph of Celestial Harmony, improvised. Requires 20 mana, 30 lore XP. Mana 10-10. Lore, XP, 30 mana insufficient. He didn't have enough mana, he only had 10. He watched as a guardian stone fist slammed into Grognak, sending the orc sprawling. They were running out of time. I need more mana, Alistair cried, a genuine desperation in his voice. Does anyone have a mana potion? Lyra, seeing the urgency, fumbled in her pack. Only minor ones, here? She tossed him a small, glowing vial. Alistair drank it, the blue liquid coursing through him. Mana restored. Paulund 15. Mana 25-25. Attempting to cast Glyph of Celestial Harmony, improvised. Mana sufficient. Cast successful. A radiant, shimmering glyph appeared directly over the corrupted altar, pushing back the darkness. The black tendrils of energy recoiled, shriveling. The ancient guardians froze, their eyes dimming, their forms turning back into inert stone statues. The oppressive, weakened debuff lifted from the party. The corrupted altar has been cleansed. Quest, the corrupted altar complete. You have gained 50 XP. You have gained 20 lore XP. New item acquired, minor healing potion, X2. Total lore XP, 50. Grognak slowly picked himself up, staring at the now inert statues. By the ancestors! He truly is a lore seeker. Alistair, despite the physical exertion, even in VR, casting spells took a toll, felt a profound satisfaction. He had saved the day, not with a sword, but with knowledge. And he was just getting started. News of the old man who pacifies monsters spread rapidly through the low-level zones of Aethelgard. Alistair, much to his chagrin, found himself a minor celebrity. Players would point, whisper, and sometimes even ask for his secret wisdom. He ignored them all, focusing on his primary objective, more lore. He parted ways with Grognak and Lyra, promising to aid them again if their paths crossed. They offered him an invitation to their small, fledgling guild, the Bronze Blades, which he politely declined. He was a scholar, not a fighter. His next destination was the Library of Whispers in the starting city of Oakhaven. It was a well-known location, often overlooked by combat-focused players who saw it as merely a quest hub for tedious fetch and deliver tasks involving old books. For Alistair, it was a treasure trove. He spent days in the library, meticulously reading every scroll, every tome, every dusty plaque. His ancient script recognition and dead language translation skills, constantly in use, began to level up, increasing their efficiency. Ancient script recognition, basic, has leveled up. Efficiency, 15%. Dead language translation, basic, has leveled up. Efficiency, 15%. His lore XP soared, lore XP tier 3 unlocked. New passive skill, historical insight, basic. Passive. Grants a minor chance to glean critical information or hidden truths from historical texts and events. New active skill, Scribe's Replica, basic, active. Allows the duplication of non-magical scrolls or maps for a mana and lore XP cost. Mana cost, 15. Lore, XP. Cost, 20. The Scribe's Replica was fascinating. He could copy documents. This had immense potential for disseminating information, or for keeping it secret. But the real gem was historical insight. This sounded like it could unlock truly hidden lore. While sifting through a forgotten section of the library, Dedicated to local Oakhaven folklore, Alistair stumbled upon a collection of children's rhymes and nursery tales. Most players would dismiss them as flavor text. But with his historical insight skill, Alistair saw something more. Lore XP Insight. The Oakhaven nursery rhyme, The Whispering Willow and the Forgotten Well, is not mere folklore. It is a veiled reference to a hidden location beneath Oakhaven, where an ancient magical artifact, possibly a wellspring of mana, was located. New quest, The Whispering Well. Description: uncover the truth behind the Oakhaven nursery rhyme and locate the rumored wellspring of mana. Objective: find the Forgotten Well beneath Oakhaven. Reward: 100 XP, 50 lore XP, mana wellspring key, unique item. Access to the wellspring of mana, a wellspring of mana. An infinite source of mana, if he understood correctly. This would revolutionize his spellcasting, allowing him to use his powerful lore-based skills without worrying about his pathetic mana pool. The nursery rhyme spoke of 3 weeping roots and a stolen tear. Alistair meticulously examined old maps of Oakhaven, cross-referencing them with geological surveys of the game world. His observation skill, combined with his lore XP, allowed him to pinpoint a likely location, an old, derelict drainage system beneath the city, long forgotten by most players. He ventured into the sewers of Oakhaven, a dark, foul-smelling labyrinth. Unlike the pyramid, this place was teeming with low-level dire rats, level 3, and slime oozes, level 4. These weren't creatures he could easily pacify. He needed a way to bypass them. He activated his new glyph of warding, basic, drawing a shimmering symbol on the sewer wall. The nearby dire rats shrieked and scampered away from it, deterred by the subtle aura. It wasn't perfect, but it gave him a safe passage. Glyph of warding, basic, activated. Mana cost, 10. Lore XP cost, 15. Total, mana, 1525, total. Lore XP, 35. He delved deeper, using his warding glyphs to create safe zones, following the faint clues from the nursery rhyme. He found 3 weeping roots, ancient, moss-covered pipes that dripped continuously, and a cracked, overflowing basin that must have once held the stolen tear. It was the Forgotten Well. He approached the basin, now mostly filled with stagnant water. A faint, glowing symbol was visible at its bottom, the mana wellspring key. But he couldn't reach it. The water was too deep, too murky, and something felt off. Lore XP. Insight: the Forgotten Well is not merely a well, but a living entity. The stolen tear refers to a missing part of its essence. Attempting to retrieve the key directly may trigger a hostile response. A living well? This game was even more profound than he imagined. He couldn't just grab the key. He needed to understand the well. He needed more lore. And he had a nagging feeling that a simple old man, even a brilliant one, might not be able to interact with a living well directly without some kind of physical ability. He needed something more than just knowledge now. He needed strength, and he didn't have any. Alistair stared at the mana wellspring key at the bottom of the Forgotten Well, now knowing it was guarded by a dormant living entity. He had the knowledge, but not the means to interact. His physical stats were too low. He couldn't dive, couldn't fight. This was a true academic's dilemma, knowing the answer but lacking the tools. He decided to seek help. He needed someone strong, someone with high physical stats, but also someone trustworthy. Grognak immediately came to mind. He contacted Grognak via the in-game messaging system. Grognak, Alistair here. I require your assistance with a unique historical excavation. Grognak responded almost immediately. Elder Alistair. Grognak smash for you, where? Alistair gave him directions, and soon the towering orc warrior joined him in the dank Oakhaven sewers. This is the Forgotten Well, Alistair explained, pointing to the murky basin. It's not merely a well. It's a dormant elemental spirit. We need the key at the bottom, but disturbing it directly will lead to an agitated, hostile response. So Grognak smash it quietly? Grognak asked, flexing his massive biceps. Precisely not, Alistair sighed. My historical insight suggests a different approach. The nursery rhyme speaks of a stolen tear. I believe this refers to a missing part of its essence, a crystalline fragment perhaps. If we return it, the well might become docile, allowing us to retrieve the key peacefully. New quest, Shared. The Wellspring's Tear. Description: locate and return the missing crystalline fragment to the Forgotten Well's dormant spirit. Objective: locate the Wellspring Tear crystalline fragment. Reward: 150 XP, 75 lore XP, Mana Wellspring Key, unique item, access to the Wellspring of Mana. So, where Tiny Tear? Grognak asked, looking around the grimy sewer tunnel. Alistair consulted his historical insight and observation skills, cross-referencing them with the faint traces of ambient magic in the sewer. The energy signature suggests it was moved upstream, towards the older abandoned parts of the sewer system. And a significant magical signature, perhaps a construct? They ventured further, fighting through more dire rats and slime oozes, using a combination of Grognak's brute strength and Alistair's glyph of warding to manage the numbers. Alistair continued to gather lore XP from discarded scrolls and ancient faded warning signs. They eventually came to a large, flooded cavern within the sewer system, and at its center, surrounded by shimmering crystalline energy, was a colossal, gargantuan slime golem, level 15. It was made of solidified slime, with shards of rock and ancient glowing crystals embedded in its gelatinous body, and within its chest, pulsating with a soft blue light, was a perfect, teardrop-shaped crystal. The Wellspring Tear. Lore XP. Insight. The gargantuan slime golem has absorbed the Wellspring Tear, using its essence to amplify its own regenerative abilities and harden its form. Destroying the golem directly may shatter the tear. It is vulnerable to focused purification magic that targets its core. Grognak smash ugly green blob. Grognak roared, raising his axe. Wait! Alistair shouted. Do not destroy it directly. My insight suggests the tear is protected within its core. We must extract it. It is vulnerable to purification. Grognak, draw its attention, keep it busy. Lyra should have been here for ranged attacks, he muttered. Regretting his solo adventuring, Alistair remembered his glyph of warding, but he also had the glyph of celestial harmony, which had cleansed the altar. The golem was a corrupted entity, drawing power from the stolen tear. Grognak, aim for the crystals embedded in its body, Alistair instructed. They are conduits. Shatter them! Grognak, surprisingly following orders, charged the golem. Its massive, slimy fist slammed down, but Grognak managed to roll away, then used his axe to shatter one of the glowing crystals on its arm. The golem shuddered, a segment of its body momentarily destabilizing. Alistair, meanwhile, channeled all his mana. He began to draw the glyph of celestial harmony in the air, but this time, he focused it not on raw cleansing, but on extraction. He used his historical insight to understand the golem's vulnerability, and his dead language translation to craft a precise, subtle variation of the glyph, attempting to cast Glyph of Celestial Harmony, Extraction. Requires 25 mana, 50 lore XP. Mana, 25, lore XP 50, requirement met. Cast successful. A radiant glyph, shimmering with pure, focused energy, appeared on the golem's chest, directly over the pulsing Wellspring Tear. The golem roared, thrashing as the glyph began to subtly pull at the tear, attempting to disentangle it from its slimy prison. Grognak, meanwhile, continued to shatter the golem's external crystals, destabilizing it further, giving Alistair more time. The golem was slowly shrinking, its form becoming less cohesive as the tear was being extracted. With a final agonizing groan, the gargantuan slime golem completely dissolved into a puddle of inert green goo. And floating perfectly intact above the remnants was the Wellspring Tear, gargantuan slime golem, level 15, defeated. Wellspring Tear acquired. Quest, the Wellspring's Tear, complete. You have gained 150 XP. You have gained 75 lore XP. Total lore XP, 125. Alistair, drained of mana, carefully retrieved the glowing crystalline tear. He now had the missing piece. He had defeated a boss-level monster not with combat, but with sheer unadulterated knowledge and strategic guidance. His lore XP was now 125, enough to reach Tier 4. He returned to the Forgotten Well, Grognak beside him. He carefully placed the Wellspring Tear into the empty slot on the well's basin. The murky water within immediately cleared, becoming crystal pure. The well pulsed not with corruption, but with a vibrant, flowing energy. The mana wellspring key floated gently to the surface. The forgotten well has been pacified. You have accessed the wellspring of mana. Your mana regeneration is now infinite while within its aura. New item acquired, mana wellspring key, unique item. Alistair looked at the key, then back at his mana bar, which was rapidly refilling. Infinite mana. This was far more powerful than any +5 enchanted sword. He had unlocked a secret, not through endless grinding, but through deep understanding. The game's history was not just flavor text. It was the ultimate cheat code, and he was just getting started. Alistair stood beside the now pristine wellspring of mana, a tranquil pool humming with pure magical energy. His mana bar, once pitiful, now proudly displayed, while he was within the well's aura. This was revolutionary. No longer would his meager mana pool limit his lore-based spellcasting. He could now experiment freely, delve deeper into ancient rituals, and translate with abandon. Grognak, ever practical, simply grunted in satisfaction. Good mana, Grognak-like. He had received his share of XP and was already looking for the next thing to smash. Alistair, however, was already planning his next scholarly endeavor. First, he wanted to fully understand the wellspring. He activated his historical insight and observation skills, focusing on the well itself. Lore XP. Insight. The wellspring of mana is not a natural phenomenon, but an ancient construct, a remnant of a pre-cataclysmic civilization known as the Ether Weavers. It was designed to anchor raw magical energy to the physical plane. Lore XP Insight. The mana wellspring key is not merely an access item, but a control device for the wellspring itself, capable of manipulating its output and properties. New lore quest, the Ether Weaver's Legacy. Description: decipher the full purpose and potential of the wellspring of mana. Objective: translate 3x Ether Weaver texts or blueprints. Reward: 200 lore XP, Ether Weaver rune carving, basic. Active skill: wellspring attunement, passive skill. This was incredible. A new civilization, new skills, and even more lore XP. But where to find Ether Weaver texts? He hadn't encountered any yet. He allocated his new skill point from reaching Lore XP Tier 4. Lore XP Tier 4 unlocked. New passive skill, Archaeology, basic, passive. Grants a minor boost to locating and identifying ancient artifacts and structures. New active skill, Scry, basic, active. Allows a brief, localized scrying spell to reveal hidden magical signatures or recent events. Mana cost 20, lore XP cost 25 archaeology. Perfect for finding hidden relics. And scry would be invaluable for locating those ancient texts. He spent several more hours in the Library of Whispers, now with infinite mana. He tirelessly translated every obscure text he could find, using his dead language translation to crack even the most obscure dialects. His lore XP began to climb rapidly. He focused on texts that hinted at primordial civilizations or deep magic. He found an ancient, leather-bound tome hidden beneath a stack of mundane ledgers. It radiated a faint ancient energy that his scry skill immediately picked up. Ancient tome detected, the Chronicles of the First Dawn. Unique artifact. Lore XP. Insight. This tome contains fragmented records of the Ether Weavers, a precursor civilization to Aethelgard's current inhabitants. It is partially corrupted by time and a powerful, unknown magical seal. New lore quest, Deciphering the Dawn. Description: decipher the entirety of the Chronicles of the First Dawn. Objective: fully translate the ancient tome 01. Reward: 500 lore XP, legacy class unlock, Ether Weaver Initiate, Fragment of the First Dawn, unique item, a legacy class. This was what the lore seeker's legacy was all about. He had only heard rumors of such classes thought to be myths, and it was tied to the Ether Weavers. This was a direct path to unimaginable power, not through combat, but through pure, dedicated scholarship. The tome, however, was heavily sealed. His dead language translation skill, even with the mana wellspring, wasn't enough. He needed more. He needed to understand the nature of the corruption. He decided to visit the ruined Cathedral of Eldoria, a dangerous high-level zone rumored to hold ancient magical secrets. Most players only went there for boss raids. Alistair, however, had a different objective: to observe and learn about the nature of ancient magic. He needed to understand the corruption that sealed the tome. He carefully used his new scry skill around the tome, trying to pinpoint the source of its magical seal. Scry, basic, activated. Mana cost 20. Lore XP cost 25. Result: the tome's seal is interwoven with primordial shadow magic, unlike common dark magic. It draws on negative emotional resonance. This was a critical piece of information. Primordial shadow magic. Not just dark magic, but something far older, far more fundamental. He knew of a hidden NPC, Sister Alara, a reclusive scholar cleric within the cathedral who was rumored to possess ancient knowledge of purifying rituals. Perhaps she could help. He packed his meager supplies, leaving the mana wellspring with a sense of immense satisfaction. His journey into the world of Aethelgard was just beginning, and he felt a profound sense of purpose. This wasn't just a game. It was the largest, most complex historical puzzle he had ever encountered, and he was determined to solve it. The ruined Cathedral of Eldoria was a stark contrast to the bustling Oakhaven. Here, crumbling Gothic architecture loomed under a perpetually gray sky, patrolled by high-level fallen knights, level 25, and shadow wraiths, level 30. Alistair, with his pitiful combat stats, would normally be annihilated in seconds, but he had knowledge. And he had a plan. He used his glyph of warding, basic, to deter stray patrols, carving powerful protective symbols onto various ruined walls. These glyphs, though temporary, created small pockets of safety. He moved slowly, deliberately, using his maxed perception to spot patrols and his historical insight to find hidden paths through the ruins. He even found a few minor inscriptions adding to his ever-growing lore XP. Lore XP plus 2. Discovered Eldoria Battle Plans fragment. Total lore XP 130. He eventually located Sister Alara's secluded chapel, a small, intact sanctuary tucked away in a forgotten corner of the cathedral. She was an imposing figure, an elderly human woman with piercing blue eyes and a severe expression, perpetually surrounded by ancient scrolls. She was also an NPC that most players either ignored or only interacted with for basic quests. "Greetings, sister," Alistair said, bowing slightly. "I am Alistair Finch, a humble historian. I seek your wisdom regarding ancient seals." Sister Alara peered at him over her spectacles. "A historian, you say? Most who come here seek glory or the demise of the corrupted. Few seek true understanding." She gestured to a seat. "What troubles your academic mind?" Alistair produced The Chronicles of the First Dawn. This tome, I believe, contains critical knowledge of a precursor civilization. However, it is sealed by what my scry skill identified as primordial shadow magic. It reacts to negative emotional resonance. Sister Alara's eyes widened, a flicker of genuine surprise crossing her stern face. Primordial shadow magic? Few even know of its existence, let alone its nature. You possess a unique insight, old scholar. She took the tome, examining it carefully. Indeed, this is a seal of the void woven by entities long forgotten. A simple purification spell will not suffice. It requires a counter-resonance, a focused projection of pure, positive emotion. Lore quest. Update: Deciphering the Dawn. Description: the tome is sealed by primordial shadow magic, requiring a counter-resonance of pure, positive emotion. Objective: acquire a powerful artifact or spell that generates pure, positive emotional resonance. A counter-resonance of positive emotion? Alistair pondered. How does one generate such a thing in a game of endless combat and loot grinding? Sister Alara smiled, a rare, almost beatific expression. True strength, old one, often lies beyond the blade. There is a legend of a whispering lullaby, a song of ancient elven origin, said to bring solace to even the most tormented souls. It resides within the sunken glade of Alara, guarded by the weeping dryad, a creature of pure sorrow. New lore quest: the whispering lullaby. Description: acquire the legendary whispering lullaby from the weeping dryad in the sunken glade of Alara. Objective: convince, aid the weeping dryad, Year 1. Reward: 100 lore XP. Whispering Lullaby Scroll. Unique item. Another fascinating quest. A game that required soothing a creature of sorrow rather than slaying it. This truly was a scholar's paradise. Alistair thanked Sister Alara and made his way out of the cathedral, avoiding patrols with even greater ease now that he understood the underlying magical flows of the area. His observation and historical insight skills felt sharper, almost like true clairvoyance. He paused just outside the cathedral, checking his map for the sunken glade. He realized he needed to return to the mana wellspring to refresh his mana for the journey and for any spells he might need. This was a long trek. Suddenly, a message flashed in his private chat. It was from Lyra, the rogue elf from the pyramid. Lyra, Alistair! We're in trouble. The Bronze Blades are attacking the Tower of Grimfang for a guild quest, but the defenses are insane. And Grognak just got trapped in a collapsing tunnel. We need a distraction, something to get past their main gate. Anything you know about old towers? Alistair looked at his map. The Tower of Grimfang, a notorious fortress in a PvP zone, heavily contested by guilds. Most players saw it as a brutal combat encounter, but Alistair's historical insight was already working. He remembered old architectural texts from the library. Lore XP, Insight. The Tower of Grimfang was not originally a fortress, but an ancient mining guild's administrative center. Its lower levels, particularly the old ore chute access, are notoriously unstable due to centuries of mining operations. Lore XP. Insight. The primary support column for the main gate's portcullis is structurally tied to the defunct ore chute access. A precise strike or collapse there could disable the gate. Knowledge is power, indeed, Alistair muttered, a mischievous twinkle in his eye. He sent Lyra a precise, detailed message, including diagrams only he could have gleaned from his lore skills. It wasn't about fighting the tower. It was about knowing how it was built. He was about to prove the pen was mightier than the +5 enchanted sword. Lyra's response to Alistair's detailed schematics of the Tower of Grimfang was a string of incredulous emojis followed by Lyra. Alistair, are you serious? You just found the architect's original blueprints in a children's rhyme? This is insane. Grognak says he can hit that weak point if we can get him close enough. Alistair chuckled. Knowledge of history, Lyra, is often more potent than 1,000 blades. Ensure Grognak aims for the old ore chute access. A focused, concussive blow should compromise the structural integrity. He received another message shortly after. Grognak. Elder Alistair is smart. Grognak smash weak spot. Get ready for fireworks! Alistair continued his journey to the sunken glade, but kept an eye on the guild chat that Lyra had added him to. Reports from the Tower of Grimfang were chaotic. The Bronze Blades were taking heavy casualties against the defending guild. The Iron Guard! Suddenly, a massive tremor rippled across the game world, followed by a dramatic system announcement. World event. The Tower of Grimfang's main gate has collapsed. Cause unforeseen structural instability triggered by player action. First discovery bonus, Alistair Finch. Player has been awarded 500 lore XP and the Architect's Seal, unique item. Alistair Finch has leveled up. Alistair Finch is now level 2. Alistair Finch has gained 1 skill point. Alistair's jaw dropped. He had just remotely, indirectly, leveled up and received a world-first bonus simply by knowing something no one else did. The Architect's Seal sounded incredibly powerful. Lore XP Tier 5, unlocked. New passive skill, Geological Survey, basic. Passive. Grants a minor boost to identifying structural weaknesses in natural and artificial constructions. New active skill, Truthsayer's Vision, basic. Active. Allows a brief vision of an object's or structure's original purpose or true nature. Mana cost 30 lore XP cost, 35 Geological Survey and Truthsayer's Vision. These skills were tailor-made for his brand of gameplay. He spent his skill point on Mana Efficiency Basic under Lore Skills, wanting to conserve his precious mana outside the wellspring. Skill point allocated to Mana Efficiency Basic. Passive. Reduces mana cost of all lore-based skills by 5%. He finally arrived at the sunken glade, a verdant, shimmering forest bathed in soft, ethereal light. At its heart was a clearing with a magnificent ancient willow tree, its branches weeping glowing tears. And beneath it, a beautiful, melancholy figure, the Weeping Dryad, level 40. Her aura exuded profound sorrow, and hostile gloom sprites, level 10, flitted around her, born from her despair. Most players would see a level 40 boss monster. Alistair, however, saw a tragic entity, a puzzle of emotion. His lore XP pulsed. Lore XP Insight. The Weeping Dryad is bound to the glade, constantly grieving a forgotten tragedy. Her sorrow fuels the gloom sprites and obscures her true self. Traditional combat will only amplify her despair and her power. Lore XP Insight. The Whispering Lullaby is not a written song, but a vibrational frequency of comfort. It must be sung, not merely read. Its power comes from genuine empathy and understanding. Alistair approached the Dryad cautiously, ignoring the gloom sprites that swarmed around him. His glyph of warding kept them at bay, but he knew direct engagement would be futile. "Greetings, mournful one," Alistair said, his voice soft and empathetic. "I am Alistair. I seek to understand your sorrow." The Dryad looked at him, her eyes ancient pools of tears. "No one understands. They only seek to slay or exploit. My grief is eternal." "Perhaps not," Alistair countered gently. "My studies have taught me that even the deepest sorrow has an origin. I believe your tragedy is connected to the very glade itself. The roots of this willow. They carry an echo." He used his Truthsayer's vision on the willow tree, focusing on its history. Truthsayer's vision, basic, activated. Mana cost 30. Lore XP, cost 35. Result: the willow was planted by the last of the Ether Weavers as a memorial to their lost civilization. Its roots intertwine with the remnants of their final city, buried beneath the glade. The Dryad mourns the forgotten knowledge of her creators. This was it. The Ether Weavers again. The Dryad wasn't grieving a personal loss. She was grieving the loss of an entire civilization's knowledge, the missing piece. "Your sorrow," Alistair stated, "is for the lost wisdom of the Ether Weavers, for their city buried beneath this glade, for their knowledge now forgotten." The Dryad gasped, a sound like rustling leaves. How do you know?" No one remembers them." "I remember," Alistair said, "and I seek their legacy. I believe the Whispering Lullaby is not just a song of comfort, but a key to unlocking that forgotten past." "Will you teach it to me?" The Dryad looked at him, truly seeing him for the first time. Her aura of sorrow lessened, and the gloom sprites began to dissipate. You seek knowledge, not power." "Very well, old scholar. It is not a song to be taught, but a melody to be heard from the heart. Listen to the wind through the leaves, to the whispers of the earth." Alistair closed his eyes, his perception maxed, his historical insight attuned. He listened. He heard the faint harmonic vibrations, the ancient melody woven into the very fabric of the glade. He felt a profound sense of peace. You have heard the Whispering Lullaby. Quest, the Whispering Lullaby, complete. You have gained 100 lore XP. New item acquired, Whispering Lullaby, melody, unique item. The Weeping Dryad has been pacified. Total lore XP 255. He now had the means to unlock the Chronicles of the First Dawn. The power of positive emotion, of empathy and understanding, was now his. He knew exactly what he had to do next. Alistair returned to Sister Alara's chapel, holding the Whispering Lullaby, melody, not as a physical scroll, but as a resonant frequency within his very being. The ancient tome, the Chronicles of the First Dawn, lay on the table between them. "I have returned, sister," Alistair announced, his voice imbued with a quiet confidence. "I have found the Whispering Lullaby. It is not a tangible thing, but a resonance of peace." Sister Alara nodded, her eyes twinkling with approval. "As I suspected, primordial shadow magic thrives on negative resonance. Only its purest opposite can undo it. Now, scholar, let us see if your understanding is true." Alistair took the tome. He focused his mind, recalling the gentle, comforting vibrations of the Whispering Lullaby. He projected that resonance into the tome, pouring his mana into the act. Attempting to break Shadow Seal using Whispering Lullaby melody requires 50 mana, 50 lore XP. Mana from Wellspring Aura. Lore XP 255. Requirement met. Seal broken successfully. The Chronicles of the First Dawn has been fully translated. Quest, Deciphering the Dawn, complete. You have gained 500 lore XP. Legacy class unlock, Aetherweaver Initiate, has been triggered. New item acquired. Fragment of the First Dawn, unique item. Total lore, XP, 755. The tome glowed, then the dark corruption dissipated like smoke. The ancient texts, once obscured, now appeared clearly before Alistair's eyes. It was a treasure trove of information, detailing the rise and fall of the Aether Weavers, their mastery over raw magic, their advanced technology, and their ultimate disappearance. And then, the system message he had been waiting for. Legacy class available. Aether Weaver Initiate. Do you wish to accept this class? YN. Alistair didn't hesitate. Yes. Class accepted. Aether Weaver Initiate. Your class has changed. From unassigned to Aether Weaver Initiate. Your level has changed from 2 to 1, new class progression. All previous lore XP and associated skills are retained. New character, Alistair Finch class. Aether Weaver Initiate, level 1. Health 50-50, mana 100-100, base mana increased. Stamina 20-20, strength 2, still pitiful. Dexterity 3, still clumsy. Constitution 4, still frail. Intelligence 25, maxed out. Wisdom 25, maxed out. Perception 25, maxed out. Lore XP 55 1000, tier 5. Skills: Observation basic, Scribe basic, Ancient script recognition basic, Dead language translation basic, Historical insight basic, Archaeology basic, Geological survey basic, Mana efficiency basic, Scry basic, Glyph of warding basic, Glyph of celestial harmony improvised. New class skills: Aether Weaver Initiate. Etheric resonance passive. Grants a minor boost to understanding and manipulating raw magical energies. Mana weaving basic active. Allows the manipulation of ambient mana to create minor magical effects or mend damaged magical items. Mana cost 10. Lore XP. Cost 10. Alistair felt a profound shift, a deep connection to the underlying magical currents of Aethelgard. His mana pool had skyrocketed, and he had gained powerful new skills. This was the true magic of knowledge. He was no longer just observing history. He was actively becoming a part of it, recreating a lost class. The Aether Weavers. Sister Alara breathed, examining the now translated tome. Their knowledge, it could rewrite the very understanding of this world. You, Alistair Finch, are truly a lore seeker of legend. Alistair looked at the fragment of the First Dawn, now in his inventory, a small, glowing shard. Its description was enigmatic, a piece of the primordial magic that formed Aethelgard. Seek its counterparts. This was the beginning of a much larger quest. He had found his purpose in Aethelgard. He wasn't chasing levels. He was chasing history, truth, and the forgotten legacy of gods. And with the Aether Weaver Initiate class, he was now equipped to truly unravel the secrets of the world. Alistair, now an Aether Weaver Initiate, level 1, felt the world of Aethelgard with a new clarity. The underlying magical currents, once imperceptible, now hummed around him, a symphony of forgotten power. His base mana was significantly boosted, making his lore-based skills even more potent. He also gained 2 skill points from achieving the Legacy class, which he immediately allocated to Etheric Sight passive and Runic Crafting basic. Aether Weaver Initiate level 1, skill points allocated. New passive skill, Etheric Sight passive, allows the perception of raw mana flows and the subtle energies of ancient artifacts. New active skill, Runic Crafting basic, active, allows the inscription of basic magical runes onto objects, imbuing them with minor effects. Mana cost 20, lore XP. Cost 30, his new etheric sight was game-changing. He could see the world as the ether weavers must have, perceiving the very fabric of magic. The runic crafting offered a tangible way to apply his knowledge to imbue items with true magical properties. He looked at the fragment of the first dawn in his inventory. His etheric sight revealed faint, intricate energy patterns within it, patterns that hinted at a much larger whole. Lore quest update: The Ether Weaver's Legacy. Description: Decipher the full purpose and potential of the Wellspring of Mana. Objective: Translate 3x Ether Weaver texts or blueprints. Progress 03, New Lore Quest, Echoes of Creation. Description: Locate the remaining fragments of the First Dawn to unlock primordial power. Objective: Locate 2x, Fragment of the First Dawn, 02. Reward: 1000 Lore XP, Legacy Class Upgrade, Ether Weaver Artisan, Primordial Core, Unique Item. This was the path. Finding the other fragments would not only level up his legacy class, but grant him a primordial core, the very essence of Aethelgard's creation. Using his etheric sight, Alistair could perceive faint trails of Ether Weaver energy emanating from the fragment of the First Dawn itself, pointing him towards other relics. It was like following a cosmic breadcrumb trail. One strong trail led him towards the Whispering Peaks, a mountain range rumored to hide ancient dwarven mines. Before heading out, he decided to visit Grognak and Lyra, whom he found celebrating their guild's victory at the now-breached Tower of Grimfang. "Elder Alistair!" Grognak roared, raising a tankard. "Your smart magic made Tower fall. Bronzeblade's strong now." Lyra approached, a look of genuine respect on her face. "That was incredible, Alistair. The Iron Guard are still reeling. Your knowledge saved us weeks of grinding and countless casualties. We owe you." "Perhaps you can repay that debt," Alistair said, a hint of his old academic passion in his voice. "I am seeking ancient Ether Weaver relics. My etheric sight indicates one lies deep within the Whispering Peaks, possibly in an old dwarven mine. It will be dangerous, and I require more robust protection." New shared quest: The Mountain's Heart. Description: Assist Alistair in retrieving an Ether Weaver relic from the Whispering Peaks. Objective: Guide Alistair through the Whispering Peaks, 01. Reward: 300 XP, 150 Lore XP, Ether Weaver Blueprint Fragment, Unique Item. Grognak instantly accepted. "Grognak smash for Elder Alistair!" Lyra, intrigued by the mention of Ether Weavers, also agreed. Their presence would be invaluable. As they journeyed towards the Whispering Peaks, Alistair continued his translations and observations. His Lore XP slowly but steadily climbed. He used his runic crafting to inscribe a minor protection rune onto Grognak's axe and a mana conduit rune onto Lyra's bow, subtly boosting their abilities. Protection rune, basic, inscribed on Grognak's axe. Grants +5 defense for 1 hour. Mana conduit rune, basic, inscribed on Lyra's bow. Grants +5% chance for mana return on hit for 1 hour. Grognak blinked, feeling a slight hardening in his axe. Alistair's axe magic made Grognak strong. Lyra felt a subtle tingle in her bow. These were small buffs, but they were real effects from pure lore. They reached the Whispering Peaks, a jagged, snow-capped range riddled with caves and ancient mining shafts. With Alistair's geological survey and etheric sight, they quickly located a sealed, ancient dwarven mine that radiated Ether Weaver energy. The seal was covered in complex runic script. Lore XP Insight: The Dwarven Seal is a combination of ancient dwarven warding magic and a forgotten Ether Weaver energy lock. It requires a specific Ether Weaver frequency to disarm, interwoven with dwarven Earthsong runes. "This is not a lock to be picked or smashed," Alistair informed his companions. "It requires a specific magical frequency." The Ether Weavers used a form of musical magic. He allocated his newest skill point from level 1, choosing Etheric Harmony, Basic. Ether Weaver Initiate, level 1, skill point allocated. New active skill: Etheric Harmony, Basic, active. Allows the projection of basic Ether Weaver harmonic frequencies to manipulate energy locks or soothe elemental entities. Mana cost, 25. Lore XP. Cost, 30. With his infinite mana from the nearby Wellspring's aura, they had set up a temporary camp within its range. And his etheric harmony, Alistair began to trace complex patterns in the air, humming a forgotten melodic tune that resonated with the runes. The dwarven seal shimmered, then slowly receded, revealing a dark tunnel. Dwarven Ether Weaver seal deactivated. Quest, The Mountain's Heart, Progress 1-1. You have gained 300 XP. You have gained 150 lore XP. New item acquired, Ether Weaver Blueprint Fragment. Unique item. Total lore XP 905, they had done it. They had found the path, but the true relic and the dangers guarding it lay deeper within the mountain. Deep within the ancient dwarven mine, the air grew heavy with the scent of ozone and forgotten magic. Alistair's etheric sight showed a complex network of ley lines, all converging on a single massive chamber. This was where the fragment of the first dawn lay. The mine, however, was not empty. Ancient clockwork sentinels, level 20, dwarven constructs animated by Ether Weaver tech, patrolled the passages. These were tough, heavily armored, and packed a punch. Grognak bashed shiny tin men. Grognak roared, charging a sentinel. Lyra provided covering fire. The sentinels were formidable, their metal bodies deflecting blows, but Grognak's runes and Lyra's mana conduit were helping. Alistair, meanwhile, was focused on the chamber's entrance. A final, powerful seal. Lore XP. Insight. The final seal is a Chronos lock, designed by Ether Weavers to prevent temporal distortion. It is tied to the internal clockwork of the Guardians. Disabling the Central Guardian will temporarily disable the lock. Grognak Lyra, Alistair called out. Focus fire on the largest sentinel. It is the key to the lock. They eventually overwhelmed the sentinels and the central chamber opened. Inside, bathed in an otherworldly glow, was a massive crystalline construct. Not a living thing, but a machine of immense power. It pulsed with a blue light, and in its chest, clearly visible, was another fragment of the first dawn. This was the Chronos Golem, level 35 boss. Lore XP. Insight. The Chronos Golem is a temporal anchor, protecting the fragment of the first dawn. It is resistant to direct damage, but vulnerable to temporal manipulation. Its core cycles through elemental phases. An incorrect attack during a phase will trigger a powerful counterattack. Another golem, Elder Alistair? Grognak asked, wiping sweat from his brow. Grognak smashed this one too? Not directly, Alistair replied, examining the golem with his etheric sight and truthsayer's vision. He could see its internal mechanisms, the intricate time-keeping runes. It cycles through elemental resistances, and it's designed to slow us, to trap us in time. Suddenly, the golem's eyes flared, and the room was filled with a shimmering, distorted light. Chronos Golem has cast Temporal Stasis Field. All movement speed and attack speed reduced by 50%. Grognak moved like he was wading through treacle. Lyra's arrows flew in slow motion. Alistair, however, felt a strange resilience. His Ether Weaver Initiate class and etheric resonance granted him a subtle resistance to temporal magic. It will try to wear us down, Alistair stated, unperturbed. I need to disrupt its temporal anchor. Grognak Lyra, you must observe its elemental phases. It glows red for fire, blue for water, green for earth, yellow for air. You must not attack with the wrong element during that phase. Wait for my signal! This was a test of coordination, not just combat. Alistair began to channel his mana, preparing a complex temporal disruption. He used his etheric harmony to try and sing a counter-frequency to the golem's stasis field, attempting to cast Temporal Resonance Disruption, Basic. Requires 50 mana, 50 lore XP. Mana, from Wellspring Aura. Lore XP, 905. Requirement met. Cast successful. Chronos Golem's temporal stasis field has been dispelled. The field vanished! Grognak and Lyra instantly regained their speed, staring at Alistair in awe. All right, watch its core, Alistair commanded. The Chronos Golem's core began to pulse, cycling colors. Red. Fire phase! Lyra shouted. Grognak, wait! Alistair cautioned. My spell is ready. He unleashed a burst of etheric harmony aimed at the golem's core. The golem shuddered. Its elemental phase briefly skipped. It's skipping phases, Lyra gasped. It's vulnerable during the transition. Alistair's lore XP and his understanding of temporal mechanics allowed him to predict the transitions. creating windows of vulnerability. Lore XP. Insight. The Chronos Golem's elemental phase transitions are brief moments of temporal vulnerability, allowing for focused, non-elemental disruption. Exploiting this rapidly destabilizes its core. Now Grognak, "Lyra, hit it with everything you have between phases," Alistair commanded. Grognak's axe slammed into the golem during a split-second transition, chipping away at its crystalline armor. Lyra's arrows found purchase where before they would have been deflected. The golem roared, its elemental cycles becoming more erratic, less controlled. Alistair continued to use etheric harmony to disrupt its temporal flow, buying his companions precious seconds. Slowly, agonizingly, the Chronos golem began to crack. With a final coordinated strike, the golem shattered, its pieces scattering like dust. The fragment of the first dawn floated gently down. Chronos golem, level 35, defeated. Fragment of the first dawn acquired. Quest, Echoes of Creation, Progress 1-2. You have gained 500 XP. You have gained 300 lore XP. Alistair Finch has leveled up. Alistair Finch, Aetherweaver Initiate, is now level 2. Alistair Finch has gained 1 skill point. Total lore XP 1205. They had done it. Another fragment, and Alistair had leveled up his legacy class. This was faster than any combat XP he could have gained. Knowledge truly was power. Alistair, now an Aetherweaver Initiate, level 2, felt the power of his legacy class growing. He allocated his new skill point to Etheric Weave, Basic, a powerful active skill. Aetherweaver Initiate, level 2, skill point allocated. New active skill, Etheric Weave, Basic, active. Allows the creation of small temporary constructs of pure mana or the projection of focused etheric energy. Mana cost, 30. Lore XP. Cost, 40. His etheric weave felt like an extension of his thoughts, allowing him to subtly manipulate the magical energy around him. His lore XP was now an astounding 1205, pushing him ever closer to the next tier, their next destination, guided by his etheric sight from the second fragment of the first dawn, led them to the floating Isles of Zephyr, a high-level aerial zone. Rumor had it that an ancient Oracle of Zephyr, level 50 boss, resided there speaking in riddles. Most players tried to fight her for rare drops. Alistair knew better. Upon arriving, they found the floating isles ravaged by a new threat, shadowy, amorphous creatures known as Void Spawn, level 25, swarming from a tearing rift in the sky. These were the same primordial shadow energies that had sealed his tome. Lore XP Insight. The Void Spawn are manifestations of primordial shadow magic, drawn to areas of high magical resonance. Their presence destabilizes the fabric of reality, causing rifts. "These things are dangerous," Lyra warned, firing arrows at a Void Spawn. "They sap your energy." They are attracted to magical resonance, Alistair realized. The Oracle's power is drawing them. They fought their way through the Void Spawn, with Grognak and Lyra dealing damage, and Alistair using his glyph of warding to slow them, and his etheric harmony to disperse some of their shadowy forms. They reached the Oracle's temple, a structure made of pure light floating on the largest isle. The Oracle of Zephyr was a being of pure energy, her form constantly shifting like starlight. She spoke, her voice an echoing whisper. "He who seeks the dawn must first know the name of the night. Unspeakable, unthinkable, undying." What am I? New lore quest, the Oracle's riddle. Description: solve the Oracle of Zephyr's riddle to gain access to ancient knowledge. Objective: answer the Oracle's riddle. 01. Reward: 500 lore XP, Oracle's guidance. Unique item. Grognak scratched his head. Night? Dark? Grognak fight night! Lyra looked frustrated. It's a riddle, Grognak. But unspeakable, unthinkable, undying. That sounds like a demon lord! Alistair's historical insight and etheric resonance flared. He remembered the chronicles of the first dawn. The Ether Weavers had faced a similar threat, a primordial being of shadow, an antithesis to their light. Its true name was always hidden, for naming it gave it power. Lore XP. Insight: the Oracle's riddle refers to a primordial entity of chaos, predating the current pantheon. Its true name was erased from history by the Ether Weavers to limit its influence. Retrieving its true name would grant immense power over it. Alistair knew the answer. It wasn't a monster's common name. It was the concept of the primordial void itself, the source of all shadow. The answer, Alistair declared, his voice cutting through the oracle's ethereal whispers, is oblivion. The void before creation, the entropy after. The oracle's form shimmered violently. Knowledge. Beyond the veil! You speak the truth that was unwritten. Oracle's riddle solved. You have gained 500 lore XP. Total Zor XP 1705. New item acquired, Oracle's Guidance, unique item. Lore XP Tier 6 unlocked. New passive skill, Primordial Language Translation, basic, passive. Grants a minor boost to translating primordial languages and understanding cosmic concepts. New active skill, Echo of Oblivion, basic, active. Allows a brief, localized projection of primordial shadow energy to debuff enemies or reveal hidden weaknesses. Mana cost, 40. Lore XP. Cost, 50. Alistair had gained Primordial Language Translation and Echo of Oblivion. He could now wield the very power of the void. This was God tier. Now, Oracle, Alistair pressed, where is the last fragment of the first dawn? The Oracle, now calmer, pointed towards the tear in the sky where the void spawn were emerging. The fragment is at the heart of the tier. It is the tether that allows oblivion to seep into this realm. But the tier is guarded by the Herald of the Void, a being of immense power. New lore quest update, Echoes of Creation. Description, locate 2x. Fragment of the first dawn. Progress 1-2. Objective, retrieve the final fragment of the first dawn from the Herald of the Void in the Rift of Oblivion. Reward, 1000 lore XP, Legacy Class Upgrade, Ether Weaver Artisan, Primordial Core, unique item. The Herald of the Void, Alistair mused. A direct manifestation of oblivion. I believe I now know its true name. And its true weakness. He looked at Grognak and Lyra. Are you ready to face a demon lord? Not with strength, but with pure, unadulterated knowledge? The rift of oblivion pulsed in the sky above the floating isles, a jagged tear in reality spewing forth an endless tide of void spawn. At its heart, a colossal, terrifying figure coalesced, the Herald of the Void, Boss, level 60. It was a nightmare-given form, a being of pure shadow and corrupted thought, powerful enough to challenge entire guilds. Lore XP. Insight. The Herald of the Void is a direct avatar of oblivion, vulnerable to its true name. Speaking its true name aloud while focusing pure etheric energy can destabilize its form, opening it to attack. This thing is a nightmare, Alistair. Lyra yelled, unleashing a volley of arrows that dissolved harmlessly into the Herald's shadowy form. Grognak's axe barely scratched it. Alistair, now an Etherweaver initiate, E-level 2, and bristling with lore XP 1705, stood calmly. His primordial language translation and Echo of Oblivion skills pulsed. He knew what to do. Grognak, Lyra! Distract it! Keep it engaged, but do not sacrifice yourselves. I need a moment of focus. Grognak roared, drawing the Herald's attention. Lyra darted around, peppering it with arrows, but their attacks barely registered. The Herald retaliated, sending out waves of pure shadow energy that battered their health. Alistair channeled all his mana, and a profound amount of lore XP. He began to speak, his voice resonating with an ancient, primordial power that shook the very air. He spoke the true name of the entity that the Ether Weavers had fought to erase from history. The name of the night. Hear me, fragment of the void. By the power of the first dawn, I name you. You are Oblivion! Attempting to cast True Name of Oblivion ritual. Requires 100 mana, 200 lore XP. Mana from Wellspring Aura. Lore XP, 1705, requirement met. Cast successful. As Alistair uttered the true name, a blinding surge of pure etheric energy, woven with the primordial language of creation, erupted from him, striking the Herald of the Void. The colossal entity shrieked, its shadowy form destabilizing, revealing cracks of raw energy within. Herald of the Void has been true named. Defense reduced by 90%. Vulnerable to all attacks. Duration 30 seconds. Now! Alistair bellowed, his voice filled with an authority that shocked even himself. "Hit it with everything you have!" Grognak charged, his axe now tearing massive chunks from the herald's exposed core. Lyra's arrows, imbued with a temporary light rune Alistair had quickly crafted, pierced its essence. They attacked relentlessly, the herald's defenses utterly shattered. Alistair, meanwhile, channeled his etheric weave into a focused beam, targeting the glowing fragment of the first dawn embedded within the herald's chest. He wasn't just attacking, he was extracting. With a final desperate shriek, the Herald of the Void dissolved into wisps of shadow, and the tear in the sky began to slowly close. The fragment of the first dawn floated gently down, recovered by Alistair's etheric weave. Herald of the Void, level 60, defeated. Fragment of the first dawn acquired. Quest, Echoes of Creation, complete. You have gained 1000 lore XP. Legacy class upgrade, Aetherweaver Artisan has been triggered. New item acquired, Primordial Core, unique item. Total lore XP 2905. Alistair felt a tremendous rush of power, a profound shift in his understanding of Aethelgard. He had done it. He had located all the fragments, legacy class available, Aetherweaver Artisan. Do you wish to accept this class? YN. Yes, Alistair said without hesitation. Class accepted. Aetherweaver Artisan. Your class has changed from Aetherweaver Initiate to Aetherweaver Artisan. Your level has changed from 2 to 1, new class progression. All previous lore XP and associated skills are retained. New base mana, 200. Character, Alistair Finch. Class, Aetherweaver Artisan. Level 1. Health, 50-50. Mana, 200, vastly increased. Stamina, 20. Strength, 2, still pitiful. Dexterity, 3, still clumsy. Constitution, 4, still frail. Intelligence, 25, maxed out. Wisdom, 25, maxed out. Perception, 25, maxed out. Lore XP, 2905, 3000, Tier 6. Skills, all previous lore skills, plus new ones. New class skills, Aetherweaver Artisan. Etheric Conduit, passive. Greatly increases mana regeneration and spell potency. World Weaving, basic, active. Allows minor manipulation of environmental elements or magical effects within a localized area. Mana cost, 50. Lore XP, cost, 60. He now held the primordial core in his hand, a fist-sized orb of pure, shimmering light. It was the heart of Aethelgard, the source code of creation. With it, he could potentially rewrite aspects of the game world itself. Grognak and Lyra stared at him, exhausted but exhilarated. "Elder Alistair," Grognak rumbled, "you fight demons with words. Grognak never sees such power." "Indeed," Lyra added, her eyes wide with awe. "You are truly the most powerful player in Aethelgard. And you didn't even lift a sword." Alistair looked at the primordial core, then at his character sheet, the pitiful combat stats beside the overflowing lore XP. He had subverted the entire game, not by brute force but by academic rigor. He had become a living legend, not through grinding but through understanding. The true legacy of the lore seeker had just begun. The game was no longer just a game. For Alistair Finch, it was a universe waiting to be fully understood, its deepest secrets now within his grasp. He, the humble historian, was now a weaver of worlds,